Hey everybody, SEA Performance. We're back at it again. Finished up. We did a Caprice in the other video. You can check that out. I believe there's a link somewhere on the screen for it, whether it's a playlist 94 Caprice. But we got another customer's truck in. This is Jeff out of like Sebring area, Avon Park area, I believe, and this is a truck he bought. Pretty much how he bought it, and he wanted to upgrade it a little bit, so he went with a Holley Sniper, and he did the big single plane, sort of like a Victor Jr. style, the Speedmaster intake. So he had a shop install it, and truck hasn't really run real good for him, so he brought it up for us to take a look at everything, kind of go through and see what's what, and a quick look at overall, with it. The first thing I noticed was the transmission lines. See, there's an upper and a lower, but the lower, you can see, comes off the radiator, takes a 90-degree up, and then it's zip tied to one of the AC lines, where it takes a 180-degree, comes down, and it's literally like laid on the fender. So it's a good thing that Jeff didn't try and drive the truck. It's a good thing that he did bring it up and get ready for us to work on it. The only thing I can assume is that they left them long to run kind of an external cooler out here, but maybe they couldn't figure out how to plumb a cooler. I'm not really sure, but there's enough line there. I think that's what we're gonna do, is we'll take the lines and route them through the shroud and get them an external cooler. That way we're not having to take the lines off, assuming that underneath they're not hanging on anything, but usually you can get them out of the way underneath. And then kind of just looking through, and they have, off of the Holley Sniper, they pretty much bundled, every power wire that they could, instead of kind of going on separate circuits, because the truck used to be EFI before with the 4.3, and that's obviously gone, and now it's a small block Chevy, so there's a lot of extra power wires you can use, for the various things with the EFI. But they took the harness and kind of trimmed it down, stuck it through the firewall. The ECU, I believe, is mounted up under the dashboard or the kick panel, where he said it was, like in the stock position. I thought they were out here, but I can't remember now on mine. But this is kind of the bundle that they left him in. I disconnected the two plugs here for the Holley to try and untangle some of this, but they've literally like just completely entangled it upon itself, and there's no way to undo that. And it's just, to me, this is just a big mess that you shouldn't have. I know these kits come with a lot of extra wiring, but it's something that you can, fit in placement. To me is kind of everything. And doing this and smashing them down up in a hole, and hiding them, doesn't really help the customer. And if he has an issue, it just makes troubleshooting it that much more difficult. There's a couple of connectors just kind of left cut, dangling. The Hyperspark, he did a full Hyperspark ignition kit, so it has the coil, the distributor, so it's like a plug and play with their Sniper kit. I mean, they just mounted it to the AC box with some self tappers, which is, the AC box is plastic and it does get brittle over time, so you have a potential for those screws to come out, the coil to fall down, say it gets on the header or something like that. I mean, it's not a very neat way to do that. And then coming over here, I found There's a digital gauge output and attack output from the sniper, and they were stuffed through the firewall, which is good, because he does have like a shift light he wants hooked up. And then there was this green one here. It has it's output number 2, so I'm not sure what that was intended for. But that was just kind of tucked up in here. There's a bundle of wires in here. You can see where the loom was getting burned, because you can see it's just a loop. If you pull this open, it's just a loop right there. You can kind of see where it comes from here, which is going to this harness here. 2 wires here that you can see they connected right there with the heat shrink, and you can see the blue one's actually cracked. Not even where they connected it. Not sure where they connected to the blue one, but that harness is looped and looped and looped all through, and then it comes out here and it goes down. It goes down right here, and it's all burnt and charred. Looks like that might be like an oil pressure. I can't really tell right now where it's ended up. But here's the green one. It's, it's quite long. And then again, it's just routed over to the header and then to a temp sensor on the head. Not really the ideal way to do that. It's not a way you should do it at all, to be honest with you. So that's kind of unfortunate. And then looking at these relays here, I mean, not sure what they're for or going to. Might be fan. Looks like fan. Yep. So you got your fans here. Again, pull that off. And then I'm gonna set this down. And just pull this loop out. Alright, so I got that out. So here again, this is the power feed for the fan. And it's got at least 2 feet of extra wire. So this side here goes over to the fan. This side here comes off the relay. Which he has dual fans, so the other relay, here's your power wire for that one, and that's not so bad. It is a big loop that they left down in there. That one's not as bad, but this one's huge. I don't know why you would do that. Same with the jumper. Well, it's not a jumper. This one comes out with the, looks like the grounds and the trigger wires. So not sure how they're running the circuits for the fans. Then you got both fan grounds are just right here. That's not a good ground on the shroud, especially for a fan that draws a lot of amps. 2 fans that draws a lot of amps, and being that your motor sat, kind of right here, and should have a main battery negative cable, to me would be more of an ideal spot. You've got a nice long stud here with a nice ground strap that they grounded the bracket for the ABS system. I'm not sure why you would need another ground going here. That looks like that is the main negative for the fuel pump. I'm gonna assume that's for the fuel pump. Yeah, fuel pump positive. So you got quite a bit of wire here for the fuel pump positive. Me personally, I probably would have done a plug here, like a 2 connector plug here, connected the one side to one side of the plug, and then hook a good ground to the other side of the plug. And again, you know, you could have trimmed, maybe ran the ground up, you know, and trimmed the fuel pump feed and stuck the ground down onto the engine block somewhere and kind of hide it a little bit. There's more of the main harnesses right here. So kind of just quick glimpse at it. I did see in a video that he had made, when the guy connected the fuel pump, he kind of just used the simple butt connectors and then heat shrink tubed over them, which you may never have an issue with that, but depending on what heat shrink tube he used, it could, within a very short period of time, it could break down that heat shrink rubber, and then you have the butt connector that's exposed to fuel. So you could have an issue where the butt connector, you know, corrodes, and then you get a bad connection at the fuel pump. But he did hang a Walbro 450 in there, connected it up with, it looks like those are the factory lines, but I've never seen factory lines, and I could be completely wrong, but I have not seen factory lines that look like hydraulic hoses. But it's kind of a neat idea. I mean, they're crimped on to hard here, and then they run up and have kind of a like a JIC, you know, Parker AN style fitting on them. So that's a feed and a return. Then you got a vent, and then you got your fill vent. These are all your fuel pump wiring. You got a 2-wire plug here. Only 1 wire is being used. I believe this is your fuel pump positive, this purple wire. So that comes to here. You've got purple and looks like a gray that will run up. So it's probably a positive and a negative for the original fuel pump. Not 100% positive on that. And then obviously you'll have your sending unit wires, which you'll have the 1 signal wire and the 1 ground wire. Well, those are 2 grounds. What did he do? So you got a ground strap here. Butt connected in there. Yeah, red and a black. Oh, I see what he did. So that red and black that run all the way up front, that's this harness here. And then he came back and butt connected the 2 grounds in the tank for the sending unit and the pump. He butt connected them together, rather than utilizing this, which is fine. You know, this is a thicker gauge, but noticing there's no relay. I can't imagine he put it up there anywhere. There's no relay for the fuel pump unless the Sniper has it. Sniper might have it. Yeah, I believe it has it. I don't know what's going on here. They taped everything up. So no, there's no fuel pump. Yeah, there is. Here it is. There is a fuel pump for the, a relay for the fuel pump. Yeah. So that's good. There is a relay for the fuel pump. I don't know that I would have left it here. It just seems, to me, it just seems kind of silly to have this here. I know you're limited by the wire that they give you, but doesn't necessarily mean you can't take the signal wire, which is this small blue one here. This is what will trigger this relay, and then this will be the output to the pump. This will be your battery and your ignition. So there's nothing to say that you can't take this relay out and extend that trigger wire, you know, and kind of hide the relay. So, but long story short, the truck needs a little bit of work. We did already call Jeff and kind of discuss a game plan with him. So we have some stuff on the way for it. And then what we're gonna do is find that factory ECU, which I believe is right here. That kind of looks like that, maybe the plug for it. Let's see how you would stuff an ECU up in there. So maybe I need to figure that out a little bit. Oh, under this panel. So it might be under this panel. Yeah, I'm kind of ADDing right now. I don't have a tool to get that off. Or you could just undo it by hand, and that seems easier. So I'll get this screw out. There's the sniper ECU, and then it looks like hidden behind it. That one doesn't want to. Yep, there it goes. So I'll take this other screw out. We got to do this anyways, so might as well do it now. But what I'll do with this is I'll get the pin out for the S10 harness. Come on. Alright. So that's that. So here's the sniper. Yeah. Here's your Hyperspark box. And it was held up in there by the dashboard, basically. Okay, look out. We got a timber. Then here is your factory ECU stuffed up under the dashboard. And that's how everything is held. That's definitely the way you do that, is just kind of stuff it up in there, you know, against the AC and stuff, because that doesn't need to work. Oh boy. But anyways, so yeah, so we're gonna take and get rid of the factory ECU. We're gonna keep the Hyperspark and actually make a mount for it. These do have a little LED to show right there, to show that the power is on, and I believe they will also, that LED will do like a trouble code, like a diagnostic for itself, like a self with the. Okay, there you go. So here's where the Hyperspark is coming through. It's a 2-inch grommet, at least a 2-inch grommet. Which, if you can, I don't know if you can see the floor has been sawzalled to smaller than the size of the grommet. So the wires are actually, come on, where are you at? There you are. Wires are actually sitting against the cut tin of the floorboard. Especially two big positive and negatives, which the negative is, you know, you'll just cut it and it'll ground itself out, which is what it should do. But then the positive, you can kind of see right there, that little black spot. Trying to see. It's already starting to chafe that wire. So this is not the way you do a grommet in a hole, especially considering that now that looks like a radiator support. That looks like off the bottom of a radiator, what goes in the subframe. But not the way you do that. Regardless, the hole is always bigger than the rubber. When you put it in a firewall or something, the hole is always bigger than the rubber. And then the rubber should never be cut down to be that big to where you can easily fit, you know, 3 you know, decent sized fingers in there. So all that's going to get addressed, because it's ridiculous. He wants to do a like a manual shift valve body, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's definitely an option, but my recommendation is to get a transmission controller, and just kind of let that do its own thing. It's a little bit easier and simpler. So yeah, I mean, I'm basically gonna gut most of the wiring out of this truck, especially this factory harness here. I'm gonna break it down to where it's the bare minimum circuits that he needs for headlights, turn signals, that's horns. It's more or less all that's up front. There's a few other things. The ABS unit is going, and we actually got, we used this before. Just gotta remember how to open the box. There it is. And this is, we use a lot of their regulators for the EFI systems. This is the PQY. It's a line lock kit. So when we do the ABS delete, we'll be able to run our 2 front lines. Well, we'll run from the master to the line lock, and then from the line lock to a new proportioning valve with a dual front port, and then we'll make up, I mean, it looks like there should be plenty of line there for the front lines, that we can cut them back, reflare them, and get them into the proportioning valve in a fairly decent spot. We may remount the proportioning valve here, kind of run, you know, your main front line over to the line lock, but we'll run it somewhere over here. We'll probably mount the line lock over in this area. Won't know until we start tearing everything apart, which will be in the next day or so. Kind of have a whole harness coming. The other thing that I suspect with this is these throttle body units, they run, the Holley runs at 58. There's other brands that run lower on some units and higher on different units. But this unit runs 58 PSI. So it has a built-in regulator. These units seem to be temperamental. These regulators, they seem to be very temperamental with aftermarket pumps. And usually when I do these units, either these or the other brand, which we don't do the other brand, we only do the Holley now. I run an external regulator with a feed, and I block off the return on the throttle body and return from the regulator, so that way you supply the throttle body with 58 PSI, and then you vacuum reference it which you'll see at idle, it'll lower the pressure, because it can cause idling issues, if you're trying to put so much fuel to the injectors, but the injectors don't need that much because it's already under vacuum. You can sometimes cause some issues with that. So that's just a few issues right now. The other issue, he said that it's really hard to push the throttle cable. And I would assume zip tying the throttle cable to the fuel fitting is for stupidity reasons. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. There's no reason to do that at all. So, yep, that needs to be fixed. But, it's a cool truck. He's got like a AC Delco serpentine system and some aftermarket pulleys, maybe underdrive or overdrive pulleys. So yeah, we're gonna get started on this, and we're gonna do our best to make it as cool as we can. He's got some cool centerline wheels. He's got big old meaty meats in the rear. A bunch of upgrades. Veltec shocks, got a good sway bar, upgraded sway bar. He's got the badass Caltrax leaf spring. I know he's got like tubular A-arms in the front. I think he said these are the Speedway tubular A-arms. Not sure on the springs, but it's got a big meaty sway bar on it. I see some braided brake lines there. So it's got, a lot of parts. It's a 355. Not sure on any of the other specs on the motor, to be honest with you. It's like a LT1 style block. 4L60. Trying to think of everything. But I mean, that's, kind of a quick rundown. These are, what people call themselves professional shops. This is kind of the work that they turn out, and it's I don't know, it's disheartening to see things like this. Like, people pay good money to take pride in their vehicle, to have things done, quote unquote, the right way, and this is kind of what you turn out. There's two dipsticks here. That one back there is for the oil, which is, it's fine. It's like a low car dipstick. And then there's this one here that's actually the transmission fluid, which is another thing. It's laying on the header right here. It's not mounted to anything, so it can flop around and go wherever it wants. But the header will definitely melt that. And then, I guess it's convenient when you melt this off right here, and the head with the dipstick falls off, then you don't have to pull the dipstick out to check the fluid, maybe. I'm not sure how that works, but I like the truck. I like S10s. They're cool. Jeff's a good dude, and he's got faith in us that we're gonna make the truck right, which I promise I will. A couple other things I'll probably address is the ginormous power steering tube. It's just a return line, so it's just a rubber hose clamped on. So make sure if you do this, make sure you get this as long as you can. And then put your grounds and your coolant wires through it. That holds everything together. Yeah, that's the feed line, which, has a big loop. Kind of is what it is. It could definitely be bent and kind of go under, like how the factory routing on them is. I may have one, not 100% positive, but I might have one that can replace that, and it goes more from the steering box port, and it loops up and down like this one does. But over here, I can't remember exactly, but it loops it I think, in front of the box, and then kind of down, up behind the power steering pump, and then into the back of the pump. Just a little bit cleaner look to the engine compartment instead of having huge hoses. Doesn't really make any sense. The return, I'll probably, my opinion would be kind of a quicker, sort of not dirty but easy fix to clean it up a little bit. What in the hell is this? That's the windshield washer tucked down there too. Okay, all right, yep, found that. So we're good there. That was that big long plastic hose for the windshield washer pump was stuffed down in there. So we'll fix that for you, Jeff. Got that out, and I'll get that tucked up under and clamped to the fender, and then ran up to the windshield washer squirters where they should go. But anyways, I'll probably just take this fitting here, this one that my finger's on, it's hard to see it, damn phone, this fitting here, and maybe roll it kind of into a 90, so it's sort of just more of a, an easier loop than taking this and tucking it down. You get like a pinch in 180 degree, and then the return line, I can also take that and kind of, you can work these gently. I usually use like a brake line bender, or another way I found is you can use a tube, like a little bit bigger tube that'll slide over, and you can just kind of gently work and keep pulling the tube off and gently work it, and it won't kink it. It'll help it sort of stay formed. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit to do on his truck, but I look forward to doing it and getting everything worked out for him and having a cool little ride for him. The one stipulation that he has, first customer ever, that said he will not pick this truck up until he receives a video of it doing a big nasty burnout. So Jeff, if you watch this, you can leave a comment. You better leave a comment, but I got you. There will be a video of your truck with my ugly mug driving, doing a big burnout right out front, or on the side road, or on the back road. Somewhere, this truck will do a big nasty burnout. So prepare, get your tires ordered, because you ain't gonna have none left when I'm done. All right, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Have a good day.